Orochi's monster invasion continues, and we finally get to the finals of the Super Fight Tournament. It's none other than Saitama versus Suiryu. Greetings, action anime fans. It's time to take a look at another episode of One Punch Man. I'm going to go ahead and put up the spoiler warning right here, because this episode has a solid conclusion to the Super Fight Tournament. And in some ways it was really exciting, in other ways it was kind of disappointing. As a big fan of action anime, I always look forward to a tournament arc. It always reminds me of the good old days of watching Dragon Ball. What I really love about tournament arcs is that they really serve as an excuse to introduce a lot of new, cool, colorful characters, see a lot of crazy, wacky attacks, and of course build up to a final battle which is sure to please. But really, this entire Super Fight arc basically served the purpose of just keeping Saitama away from the giant monster invasion, as well as introducing the character of Suiryu, who, while he is a pretty competent martial artist, does not stand a chance against Saitama. In fact, I think the way that Saitama actually defeated him in this battle has got to be one of the funniest things that I've actually seen from the series. But let's get to the brass tacks. This episode was divided into two parts, which is going to seem very familiar, as it's basically just a straight continuation of everything from the previous episodes. The monsters are invading the city, the heroes are fighting against them, and Saitama is slowly working his way up the ladder in the Super Fight Tournament. Some of the big monster battles that we actually get to see in this episode are actually kind of cool, I have to admit. I especially loved the one scene of this introduction of a character that I don't remember ever seeing before. He has a ridiculous name. His name is Flashy Flash, and he fights against a giant octopus monster, just one-upping a couple of Class A heroes, only for him to immediately be one-upped by Terrible Tornado Tatsumaki, who continues to do what she does best, which is make everybody look like a fool and act like a total bitch. That's pretty much the entire point of her character. I also love that we finally got another scene with Atomic Samurai. He's one of those characters that's really simple in the way that he's actually portrayed, but there's just this air of coolness about his character. He realizes that the monsters are starting to rise, and so is Garo, and he feels that Silver Bang might actually end up losing to his former student. Thus, he has this gathering of all of these samurai warriors known as the Order of the Holy Sword, and he's trying to get all of their legions to go into battle against him, except there's one member named Haragiri who has decided to actually join the Monster Association, and he tries to bargain with all the samurai by telling them if they eat these like weird little monster balls, they're basically going to transform into superpowered beings. But Atomic Samurai's not having any of that and just completely slices and dices him in a really badass scene before joining his three top students to go after Garo personally. I can't wait to see what's actually going to go down here, and it makes perfect sense why a character like Atomic Samurai would have some sort of interest in Garo, as being a samurai is very similar to actually being like an expert martial artist. And there's a couple of other scenes like Genos waking up in a giant crater after being attacked by Goketsu, who you get to see at the very end of the episode. Man, does he look gnarly as shit! Just got multiple eyes all over his face, weird, freaking creepy teeth. He kind of looks like a weird mutated version of Boros. That's actually kind of the feeling that I get from him, and they're certainly building him up to be one hell of an imposing figure. But the main attraction of this episode has got to be Saitama fighting against Suiryu, and it's not so much a fight as it is Saitama desperately trying to protect his identity and making sure that his wig does not fall off. But Suiryu is just determined to take this guy down, and at first displaying a number of his really cool martial arts moves, not even hitting Saitama until eventually he starts to take things more seriously, where he actually does connect a lot of blows with Saitama. The thing is, they don't hurt him at all. I mean, Saitama's getting blown away and flying around in the sky and slammed into the ring, but really most of the time he's just trying to keep his freaking wig on. And what I love especially about this scene is that the only reason Saitama is here is because, well, he wants to make a little money, and two, he wants to learn what it means to be a martial artist, and at the end of the day, the only thing he really learns from this is that it just means moving around and looking really cool while you fight, much to the anger of Suiryu. I also do love that we got a pretty serious Saitama moment, or at least as serious as he can potentially get in this tournament, where Suiryu starts to talk down about heroes, how everything they do is completely pointless, and basically it's just about power at the end of the day. What's the point of being a hero? It doesn't really mean anything, and there's a lot of weaklings, according to Suiryu. And Saitama does not take too kindly to this. He still sees a lot of honor in actually being a hero and wanting to save people, selflessly. That's kind of the thing that he's all about. And he gets serious for just a second until he finally decides to punch Suiryu, or not so much punch him, but basically hit him with a giant blast of air, which completely blows all of his clothes away, but also gets rid of his wig. And when the referees see this, they realize that he's actually in a disguise, and yes, they do disqualify him. But Suiryu is not going to take that sitting down. He still wants the fight to continue, and he starts to take things a little more seriously. And while he's not the most powerful character that we've actually seen in the entire series, I have to say, he does have some skills of being able to break the ring and cause half of it to basically explode up in the air as he tries to hit Saitama with a flurry of attacks. And this is where the best part of the episode comes in, because Saitama ends up defeating him by basically accidentally spinning around and bumping him with his ass. He basically takes him out like a character in a Keijo fight. So what's the rundown on this episode of One Punch Man? I think it's already pretty obvious that this season of One Punch Man is not going to live up to the lofty animation heights of the first season, but luckily the story manages to still be very entertaining and, most of all, very funny. The series has just got a great sense of humor, and considering at the end of the day it's essentially a parody of shonen battle manga, I'm kind of okay with that. It was also really funny how at the beginning of the episode, Sourface ends up losing in a fight to Saitama, and then after that his attitude completely changes from being just a really angry asshole into someone who's actually kind of supportive of his fellow student. It's really all a build-up to the battle with Suiryu, which, like I said, was kind of disappointing in some senses, and I was really hoping that Saitama was going to clean his clock in a more traditional sense, but honestly, I thought it was a lot more fitting for him to get humiliated in the way he did, with all of his clothes getting blown away, and of course, getting his ass handed to him by an ass. I don't know, I just thought that was really funny. Most of the episode, however, was also just showing off what the other heroes could do. We had a great scene with a Mai Mask who's taking out the monsters who was invading his tournament. We got to see the return of the Child Emperor, who is this super genius kid who's using all of these robots to fight against monsters, including this massive snake woman, and he actually ends up getting saved by this, like, big fat hero who goes by the name of, like, the Pig God, whose apparent power is just eating a lot of shit in his wake. He's like the literal interpretation of a hungry hippo. And then, of course, there was one scene that, honestly, I have to admit kind of annoyed me. It was when Gaara was finally going to throw down with Watchdog Man, and it gets completely interrupted when a monster starts to attack right in front of them. I am so desperate to see what Watchdog Man is going to be all about, as they've been slowly sort of building up the hype behind that character, and considering he has a lot of the same expressions and look as Saitama, I was kind of hoping in the back of my mind that he would end up being like a really super powered hero that's actually hiding something very special about himself. Really, though, I just can't wait to see where ultimately this is all going to be going after this, because now that the tournament is over and Saitama has to run away from getting caught from cheating in the tournament, I wonder if he's going to get involved in any of these big monster fights, and maybe even if he's going to be the one who's going to battle Orochi, or maybe Genos is going to try and reclaim his honor. I don't know. I'm just really excited. What I will say is this was a pretty awesome and action-packed episode, which, like I said, in terms of the production value, is not going to blow anyone away. I mean, there's definitely some cool-looking scenes, but the artwork is kind of off, and the action is also just not the greatest thing I've ever seen. And considering that One Punch Man is known for that, that is kind of disappointing, but ultimately, I think this is another episode which is saved by its story and its fun and ridiculous flashy characters, which is why I'm going to give the episode a 4 out of 5. That's my thoughts on this one. I'd love to get yours. You can tell me all of them in the comment section below, and what you hope to see from the rest of the second season of One Punch Man. Thank you all for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down, baby.